So to Saudi Arabia. Now, actually, let's start here. I found this very funny. We have talked about how the news wires were demoted by the White House, and we have some more of that today. This is one of Trump's rapid response and spokesman, Stephen Chung, saying, "Oh no, a strongly worded email," and FOH means F out of here. And you can figure out what the F means. White House Correspondents Association statement on the unprecedented exclusion of wires on international trip. For the first time since the White House press corps started traveling with American presidents abroad, no wire service reporter is aboard Air Force One today. As the president travels across the ocean for high-stakes meetings in the Middle East, the White House has decided not to include any wire reporter on the presidential aircraft. The White House pool was created to be representative of the different types of media outlets that serve different readers. Leaving out the wires is a disservice to Americans who need news about their president, especially on foreign trips where anything could happen and the consequences can impact the entire world. If you have read or watched the news, you've relied on the words written and transmitted immediately by wire reporters from the Associated Press, Bloomberg, or Reuters. Their reports are distributed quickly to thousands of news outlets and millions of readers throughout the world every day, so all have equal access to coverage of the presidency. The change is a disservice to every American who deserves to know what their highest elected leader is up to as quickly as possible. The White House Correspondents Association is disturbed by this new restriction on who can cover this White House and continued retaliation for independent editorial decisions. The White House Correspondents Association is advocating for the wire service journalists to return to their seats on Air Force One, where they have reliably covered every president for decades. Not for us, but for the millions of Americans who depend on their reporting every day. Well, the truth is, people do not depend on their reporting. The mainstream media depends on their reporting because their reporting is upstream of mainstream media content. People, the American consumers, also do not depend on mainstream media content. They have been made dependent on this supply chain of information. And above, by the way, the wire services and these global regime propaganda outlets are intelligence organizations serving the global regime. That's where the information comes from. So Americans have been made dependent on this informational supply chain, but that doesn't mean that they actually do depend on that informational supply chain. They don't need it. If it went away, something else would arise in its place. Because people do need information. They just don't need bad information. They don't need information that is manipulated by global regime intelligence organizations before it reaches the people. And so they're being cut out. Why should anyone be upset about that? If you want full access to the government, well, you've got a pretty transparent government. If you want more access than that, well, there are reporters that do travel with them. It's just not these totally corrupted wire services going to a place like Saudi Arabia. Now, who knows what the ultimate reason for this decision was, but it's not something to get upset about. They're going to paint this as Trump being a dictator. This is Trump being Hitler. He's going to war against the free press. You're not a free press. You're a corporate press that operates to help the implementation of the global regime's agenda. The idea that these are independent news sources trying to faithfully deliver the truth to the American people is preposterous. All right, so let's check in with Donald Trump. Now, I believe that today was incredibly significant for reasons I stated earlier, but also because Trump gave one of the best and probably most important speeches I've ever seen him give. And I would put it as like on par with the speeches before the UN and before the World Economic Forum. This is Trump planting a flag in the global geopolitical dynamic that is not going to be removed. And so we'll get to the speech in a second, but first I want to kind of present how Saudi Arabia presented themselves to Donald Trump and how they presented Donald Trump to the world because there is this is a greeting like I've never seen. So let's start here with the fighter jets escorting Air Force One. Saudi fighter jets making sure that Air Force One is safe as it flies over Middle Eastern airspace. Let's keep going. Then we have the entrance. As soon as I can find it. Here we are. That is, for those listening, that is audio of cannons being fired off upon Trump touching down and descending the staircase from Air Force One. Purple carpet on that staircase and a purple carpet rolled out for Trump to walk upon. Now, again, people thought that that was a purple tie. It is a red tie with a blue kind of crosshatch checkered effect over it. And Ghost of Base Patrick Henry looked into that today upon seeing, the claims about purple tie, and then people playing Match Online decided to actually give that a look. Now, other people have said, by the way, that this is meant to be lavender, which is a popular color in Saudi Arabia that signifies hospitality. But in a broader sense, purple signifies royalty. And I would suggest, as you watch these, consider whether Trump is once again being portrayed as king of the world or king of at least this North American region, if nothing else. And I think that that's becoming unquestionable at this point. Let's play a little bit more of this. Mohammed bin Salman comes to the landing, to the bottom of the stairs, where Trump descends from Air Force One and greets him and shakes his hand. He comes to the tarmac himself to greet Trump and for this extravagant display. That's not the normal custom. He normally sends an emissary to meet the foreign leaders and then greets them once they arrive at, I think it's the palace, but forgive me if I'm wrong about how they refer to the meeting location that we will see shortly. So quite a long receiving line, an enormous Saudi delegation, and Trump has a sizable delegation of his own. Noticeably absent from that delegation is J.D. Vance. And that's not because J.D. is getting left out due to his irrelevance. It's because the vice president doesn't travel with the president, quote unquote, blah, 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 because they're worried about continuity of government and the like. So when a president goes to foreign shores, the vice president remains in America. But again, an incredible entrance there, a long receiving line, Trump being introduced to various Saudi officials. Let's continue on his path to his destination here. This is unbelievable. That is quite a display. American and Saudi flags flying, held in the hands of men dressed in white on horseback, all white horses, as that probably is the beast delivers Donald Trump to the destination. You can skip ahead a bit here. Just Saudi. I mean, I got to assume that these are prominent Saudis, members of the royal family, prominent members of the Saudi business community. I don't know that to be true, but it looks to be the case. A long line of them just lined up waiting to wave hello to Donald Trump's vehicle as he arrives. Man, that is quite an entrance. And maybe this is actually from the airport, so I didn't mean to go out of order here. But no, maybe not. I don't know. No, I think this is from the airport. So they played the American national anthem. Trump stood in salute. Again, quite a display. So let's just remember the sort of entrance they gave Donald Trump and the sort of treatment that Donald Trump was given last time. Everybody famously remembers the famous sword dance. That is pretty extravagant treatment. Could you imagine getting that greeting? Like all of this is happening because I'm going to walk from here to there. That's really something. Now it's important to provide the proper context to remember the situation with one Joseph Robinette Biden from the fake presidency, when the fake president visited Saudi Arabia to beg for oil and was denied. He was basically, they sent an Uber to the airport and Biden took the car to the palace, where Mohammed bin Salman greeted him with a fist bump, said not a word to him, turned around and walked in, because, of course, Joe Biden carried no weight on the world stage aside from regime-oriented governments. And Saudi Arabia is not one of those. They are a sovereign nationalist government that is very much aligned with Donald Trump and was throughout those last 4 years. Isn't it amazing that they didn't, like China, they didn't take advantage of the fact that Trump was away and do all these terrible things. They didn't take all this advantage of the United States of America because they knew that Trump was coming back and that they were going to have to work with them, just like China, just like Russia, just like all of them. And for some reason, truthers are opposed to understanding that. Q people are opposed to understanding that. How? Honestly, how? I mean, it's like the idea, that very tour, that trip, all of that is called commonly referred to as the submission tour or the capitulation tour. Trump went around to all these other nations and was treated like a king, showing the world with the optics that all of these were alliances being formed and that these situations were under control. And nothing has changed since then. And we're seeing now, obviously, that nothing has changed since then. And again, it's impossible that anything would have or could have changed since then, unless these people were going to compromise their relationship with Donald Trump and thereby compromise the rest of the project. The idea that that occurred while the fake president was president is preposterous, which also makes it more preposterous to believe that the fake president was a real president. But then again, truthers spent the entire time analyzing it as though Joe Biden was president and that everything that was happening on TV was real and that our elections were real, even under the fake president, while we could watch them be stolen. And therefore, we have to devote all our energy to voting as hard as possible in another fake election, which again, Trump has called fake over and over again. I don't need to show you. All right. Let us continue. Actually, let us pause just for a second and to take care of a slight bit of business with Rumble and Rumble Premium. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built a platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted they fell to pressure from the Biden and Harris administration. Rumble did not. They held the line. They are attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They are attacked in corporate media. They are attacked by governments like France. They're attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers. They don't get much of it. Watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you. But if you really believe in this fight and you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with the promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium and use promo code STUDIO. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now's the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we are just happy you watch us here on Rumble. All right. And thank you to Rumble for providing the platform and the opportunity to put content like this out without getting censored. And, you know, to be honest, YouTube hasn't been censoring my show for the last 5 months, since December, I think it was the last time. So that's good. And maybe we're past the censorship phase. Makes you wonder about who was directing the censorship the entire time. Maybe we'll know more in the future, or maybe they'll go back to the censorship model. Who knows? But for now, I am over there, and it's possible that people are actually watching over there. And I suppose I might as well just check briefly, or quickly, I should say, on that, because I don't want people to feel that they are being ignored. That would be just terrible. That's not the kind of thing I would want to do to those people following. And while we're at it, if you are on YouTube and you use it frequently, take 2 seconds, please, and go follow my channel over there. I am hopeful that once I hit the follower mark, then new features are opened and maybe you kind of get some fortification over there. So that would be cool if you can give a follow. And with that, Oh, look, Tweeter Trash is over there. How about that? So is my pal Ron, Kathy LaBelle. Look at all these people. Thank you, guys. Wiggle Room. I would never ignore you now that you yell at me. Okay. Thanks for tuning in on these other platforms, you all. I appreciate you all very much. And let us now continue with Trump's incredible trip to Saudi Arabia, his trip to the Middle East that has just gotten started and is already the most incredible thing that one can witness. So it turns out that in addition to members of his administration, cabinet secretaries Susie Wiles, Stephen Miller, one Elon Musk also showed up in Saudi Arabia. And Trump, we've talked about how Trump manhandles people with his handshakes. He's manhandled Emmanuel Macron. He's manhandled Justin Trudeau. He kind of went over the top on a handshake with Netanyahu. He signifies things in these handshakes. So keep an eye on his handshake with Elon Musk. See that? Pulls it right in, holds on to it. And does Elon tap out of that handshake? It looks like he raises his hand toward it. I don't know. Maybe I'm seeing things. Let me watch it one more time. Perhaps not. I don't know. But interesting. Trump took an obviously dominant position in that handshake right in front of MBS, and extract whatever meaning from that, or perhaps there's no meaning that you choose. That is for you to discern on your own. Don't take my word for it. This is what I see. It doesn't have to be what you see. So, meeting with Mohammed bin Salman. And they give the statement. This is a statement of greeting and welcome. They give it in Arabic and then in English.
To hear, this decades-long strategic partnership will continue with more signings of agreements and memoranda of understanding at the Saudi-U.S. Investment Forum. In closing, we wish both nations a fruitful partnership and a prosperous future. Thank you.
Now, again, that's the Crown Prince. He is Saudi royalty, and Donald Trump is being treated like royalty. Let us go to X, formerly Twitter. Trump signing the economic agreement with Saudi Arabia. And MBS signing his. And they come to exchange and shake hands. Let us continue. Where are we here? All right. So what is in this new economic agreement with Saudi Arabia? Let me make sure I'm on the right. Here we are. I asked ChatGPT for a quick rundown. Key components of the U.S.-Saudi economic deal. An historic $142 billion arms deal was signed, marking the largest defense sales agreement in U.S. history. This includes advanced military equipment and services from over a dozen American defense firms, focusing on areas such as Air Force development, missile defense, and maritime security. Saudi Arabia committed to investing $20 billion in U.S. AI data centers and energy infrastructure. Additionally, tech giants like Google, Oracle, and Uber are involved in partnerships totaling $80 billion, aiming to advance transformative technologies in both countries. Agreements include $14.2 billion in U.S. energy exports, such as GE Vernova's gas turbines, and $4.8 billion in Boeing aircraft sales. U.S. companies like Hill International and AECOM are set to lead infrastructure projects within Saudi Arabia, including the development of King Salman International Airport and King Salman Park. And the Boeing thing is with China, and now it's with Saudi. And do you remember how we spent the last few years hearing conning and uniparty right normies telling us that Boeing was woke, the DEI, look at their planes crashing. And I was like, hey, that seems like an info op. That seems fake. And everybody's like, you can't call everything fake. Well, yeah, I can. Look. How is Boeing getting these deals if Boeing is the wokest DEI company ever and their planes always crash? How is it? Healthcare and pharmaceuticals. A $5.8 billion investment is planned for the development of a high-capacity IV fluid facility in Michigan, aiming to bolster the U.S. healthcare supply chain. The agreement includes several funds, such as a $5 billion energy investment fund, a $5 billion aerospace and defense technology fund, and a $4 billion global sports fund, each designed to channel substantial capital into American industries. You know, Saudi already has the Live Golf Tournament, which is a competitor to the PGA. There is a new USFL. I would not be surprised. And I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's not a prediction or anything. It's something I think about every now and then. Is Saudi going to join Donald Trump in creating an NFL competitor for American football? Trump went that direction in the art of the deal days 40 years ago. And I would not be 30, 40 years ago. And I would not be surprised to see that happen again and for Saudi to be the partner in that. But overall, the total investment package was over $600 billion. The U.S. and Saudi Arabia signed agreements for judicial cooperation between their respective justice departments and coordination between the Pentagon and Saudi Ministry of Defense for modernization and development of the capabilities of the Saudi armed forces. So the Saudi Justice Department, working with Donald Trump's Justice Department, how much corruption was there from regime elements? And you think about deep state here, think about it over there. You think about the corruption and the compromise over here, think about it over there. What does their Justice Department know about the Bushes? What does our Justice Department know about certain Saudis? We're eventually going to have 9/11 disclosure on a much wider scale than we've seen so far. And of course, that was blamed on Saudi Arabia. And it does not make sense. Is there going to be coordination along those lines? Obviously, I can't say that with any confidence right now, but it seems like that would be an obvious area of collaboration. And in terms of regional diplomacy, President Trump expressed hope that Saudi Arabia would join the Abraham Accords and normalize relations with Israel. He also announced plans to lift all U.S. sanctions on Syria following the overthrow of its longtime leader. We're going to get some of that in the speech. Normalizing the relations with Israel, or a nation that is the power source in that region and committed to a Palestinian state, indicates the likelihood of the recognition by the U.S. of a Palestinian state. And they're saying, no, that's not going to happen. That can't happen. Well, yeah, you say the same thing about Crimea, and that's definitely going to happen. And already there exists a Palestinian state. And if Israel wants to remain a state, it seems obvious that whatever negotiations are happening has to bring peace to that region and keep both of those states in place. It doesn't seem like there's going to be any other option. And at this point, it's becoming obvious to at least me that there's no other way that can go. And again, these are dynamics that we have been following and tracking for 4 years. On this podcast, I have already said everything that we see happening at some point over the last 4 years. It's not magic, and it's not a result of playing match online. It is a result of thinking outside the box, using all the open source information and intelligence that we can get, and then trying to analyze it holistically, understanding as assumptions and premises certain irrefutable truths, like our elections are fake, and Joe Biden could then never be president. And yes, something else was going on behind the scenes for the last 4 years. That's it. But people failed to do that, instead preferring to go along with the mainstream television and play match online. Okay. Where are we now? All right, here we are. Trump posted this today on Truth Social, sharing some of his preferred views of this meeting, or images, I should say. I don't know how that just happened. Trump signing the deal, MBS signing the deal, and them walking to greet each other, as I just showed you. Pictures going off. Applause, big smiles. Let's keep going. This is Donald Trump's entrance to the Saudi Investment Forum, where he would then give this great speech.
Please welcome His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, Crown Prince and Prime Minister, and the 45th and 47th President of the United States of America, Mr. Donald Trump.
So that is an absolutely magnificent venue. Crystal chandeliers hanging all over the place. Hundreds of prominent people, dignitaries on their feet welcoming Donald Trump. That is a spectacular entrance. And then they went above and beyond and did this. I sped through that because we don't need to hear the whole entrance song, but they played Donald Trump's God Bless the USA as part of his entrance, and everyone in the audience was on their feet the entire time. Many of them, as you saw, recording the occasion on their mobile phones. Does that seem like an American ally in our America, not the evil twin faction America? Yeah, that seems like about as good an ally as we could possibly have. That is an incredible greeting. And that's, I mean, the speech hasn't even started yet. It's incredible. But let's get to the speech. And I'm going to probably try to keep my commentary to a relative minimum, but I really want to just get all this on the record so that everybody hears what this actually is.
him and be welcomed back with such extraordinary generosity and warmth. I've never forgotten the exceptional hospitality showed to us by King Solomon, who's just, we talk about a great man. That is a great man. That is a great man, a great family. And that visit took place exactly 8 years ago. The graciousness of the royal family and the Saudi people is really unsurpassed, no matter where you go. Let me also thank the countless ministers, government officials, business leaders, and distinguished guests for that warm welcome. Very warm, and I know so many of you. I'd like to call out all of your names, but we have a lot of problems. We'd be here for a long time. We don't want that, so don't be upset. With this historic state visit, we celebrate more than 80 years of close partnership between the United States and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Ever since President Franklin Roosevelt met with King Solomon's father, King Abdul Aziz, aboard the USS Quincy in 1945, the U.S.-Saudi relationship has been a bedrock of security and prosperity. Today, we reaffirm this important bond, and we take the next steps to make our relationship closer, stronger, and more powerful than ever before. It is more powerful than ever before. And by the way, it will remain that way. We don't go in and out like other people. It will remain that way. I've come this afternoon to talk about the bright future of the Middle East, but first let me begin by sharing the abundance of good news from a place called America. In less than 4 months, our new administration has achieved more than most other administrations accomplish in 4 years or even 8 years. We've actually done, for the most part, more. The day I took office, we inherited, thank you. Thank you. The day I took office, we inherited a colossal invasion on our southern border, an invasion like you'd never want to see here. Nobody should ever want to see it. But within weeks, we slashed illegal border crossings to an all-time low, down 99.999%. That's good, even for this great gentleman standing right in front of me. That's a good number. We had...
Here is so the interplay between Trump and Mohammed bin Salman throughout the day was like very buddy. These guys really like and respect each other quite a bit. And I think it's probably because they're both doing the same job in different places, as I believe you can say for Putin and for Xi. And people are like, how could you say that? We're basically at war with China. Really? She has been removing the deep state in China for like the last decade. They're ahead of us. Saudi might be ahead of us too. Just saying. It's important to keep an open mind about these things. Otherwise, we're just going to get hoodwinked by the television, as people have been getting, including myself, as we've been getting hoodwinked for our entire lives.
That was very popular, other than perhaps with Mexico. And most importantly, for the people in this room, the days of economic misery under the last administration are rapidly giving way to the greatest economy in the history of the world. We are rocking. The United States is the hottest country, with the exception of your country, I have to say, right? I'm not going to take that on. No, Mohammed, I'm not going to take that on. Wouldn't that be a terrible thing if I made that full statement? But I will not do it. You're hotter. At least as long as I'm up here, you're hotter.
So America's as hot as can be, but Saudi, while Trump's there, they get to be even hotter. Congratulations, Saudi Arabia. Here's another one.
Peninsula, beautiful place, by the way. Beautiful place. Exactly. Thank you. Exactly 8 years ago this month, I stood in this very room and looked forward to a future in which the nations of this region would drive the forces of terrorism and extremism, drive them right out of existence, and take your place among the proudest, most prosperous, most successful nations anywhere in the world as leaders of a modern and rising Middle East. So exciting, so exciting. Mohammed, you sleep at night? How do you sleep? Just thinking.
And you'll notice, by the way, Elon Musk getting a very good position so that he is in the shot repeatedly whenever the cameras go to Mohammed bin Salman.
What a job. He tosses and turns like some of us. Tosses and turns all night. How do I make it even better all night? It's the ones that don't toss and turn. They're the ones that will never take you to the promised land, won't they? But you have done some job.
And talking about the nations of the region being prosperous, a big chunk of his speech was devoted to that. So let's get into some of that. Here he talks about Iran and 1979, and we don't have time to get into the CIA and regime takeover and whatever of Iran, but notice the stark difference that he describes.
Constructing the world's tallest skyscrapers in Jeddah and Dubai. Tehran's 1979 landmarks are collapsing into rubble and dust. They had it going for a little while under a much different system, but those buildings are largely falling apart, falling down, while you're building some of the world's biggest and most incredible infrastructure projects, buildings, all sorts of things you're building that nobody's ever even seen before. Iran's decades of neglect and mismanagement have left the country plagued by rolling blackouts lasting for hours a day. All the time you hear about it.
Is there a better future on the horizon for Iran? It seems like there is, and hopefully we'll have more news about that this week. This, I thought, was just incredible. I am so happy that he said all of these things because it is right in line with what we talk about continuously.
Crucial for the wider world to note this great transformation has not come from Western interventionists or flying people in beautiful planes giving you lectures on how to live and how to govern your own affairs. No, the gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits like those who spent trillions and trillions of dollars failing to develop Kabul, Baghdad, so many other cities. Instead, the birth of a modern Middle East has been brought by the people of the region themselves, the people that are right here, the people that have lived here all their lives, developing your own sovereign countries, pursuing your own unique visions and charting your own destinies in your own way. It's really incredible what you've done. In the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more nations than they built, and the interventionists were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand themselves. They told you how to do it, but they had no idea how to do it themselves. Peace, prosperity, and progress ultimately came not from a radical rejection of your heritage, but rather from embracing your national traditions and embracing that same heritage that you love so dearly.
And bin Salman gives that a rousing round of applause. So Donald Trump just blamed the global regime, the neocons, the globalists, the interventionists for the problems in the Middle East. That's all the nation building we used to hear about during the George W. Bush administration. That is a neocon priority. It always has been. He talks about Saudi Arabia and other countries of the region being sovereign and embracing their national identity. Sovereign nationalism as opposed to globalism. You run your country. We will help you run your country in the ways that you need it to be helped, because there's this transition period right now where the global regime has to be kept out so that they don't wage the same playbook successfully that they waged in Europe in World War II and then after. Got to have a different outcome this time. Therefore, we need the power sources in the world to be aligned against that thing. And that is what is being shown off here. They know it on their side. Trump is affirming that to them. And it seems like they are in total alignment. I think we're going to see the same thing with the other major global powers in the weeks to follow. This is another absolute banger. Whoever wrote this speech, and maybe it was Trump, but it was probably Stephen Miller. I think that he's been involved in writing a lot of these. Maybe it was Steve Bannon, for all I know. But really incredible speech.
In recent years, far too many American presidents have been afflicted with the notion that it's our job to look into the souls of foreign leaders and use U.S. policy to dispense justice for their sins. They loved using our very powerful military, and now it's really the most powerful it's ever been. We just are getting a budget approved, $1 trillion, highest budget we've ever had in history for military, $1 trillion. And we're getting the greatest missiles, the greatest weapons. And, you know, I hate to do it, but you have to do it because we believe in peace through strength. You have to have the strength. Otherwise, bad things could happen. But hopefully, we'll never have to use any of those weapons. Seems to be an awfully big waste of money if you're never going to use them. But hopefully, we'll never have to use them, because the destructive power of some of those weapons are like nobody's seen before. I believe it is God's job to sit in judgment, my job to defend America and to promote the fundamental interest of stability, prosperity, and peace. That's what I really want to do.
I believe it is God's job to sit in judgment and my job to defend America. That is one of the greatest things a president could ever say. I mean, that like makes me kind of emotional. Good for him. That's fantastic. That's exactly what everyone should want to see on the world stage. And yet, Trump's the bad guy. Why is Trump the bad guy? Oh, it's because he's destroying their system. That's why. Another real banger right here.
Well spent. And with the historic Abraham Accords that we're so proud of, all the momentum was aimed at peace, and it aimed very successfully. It's been an amazing thing, the Abraham Accords, and it's my fervent hope, wish, and even my dream that Saudi Arabia, a place I have such respect for, especially over the last fairly short period of time, what you've been able to do, but we'll soon be joining the Abraham Accords. I think it'll be a tremendous tribute to your country, and it will be something that's really going to be very important for the future of the Middle East. I took a risk in doing them, and they've been an absolute bonanza for the countries that have joined. The Biden administration did nothing for 4 years. We would have had it filled out. But it will be a special day in the Middle East with the whole world watching when Saudi Arabia joins us. And you'll be greatly honoring me, and you'll be greatly honoring all of those people that have fought so hard for the Middle East. And I really think it's going to be something special. But you'll do it in your own time, and that's what I want, and that's what you want, and that's the way it's going to be. When I left office, the only thing still standing between this region and its unbelievable potential was a small group of rogue actors and violent thugs seeking constantly to drag the Middle East backward and into havoc, mayhem, and indeed into war. Unfortunately, instead of confronting these destructive forces, the last U.S. administration chose to enrich them and empower them and give them billions and billions of dollars. The Biden administration, the worst administration in the history of our country, by the way, spurned our most trusted and longstanding Gulf partners, and I can say partners worldwide, one of our great, great partners, no matter who we look to. And we have great partners in the world, but we have none stronger and nobody like the gentleman that's right before me. He's your greatest representative, greatest representative.
Now, you wouldn't be wrong to see that as a proof of the sovereign alliance, as we have discussed over the years, that there is coordination between these sovereign nationalist oriented anti-regime nations. They are working in concert to bring down the centralized top-down system of control, the rules-based international liberal world order. What more do you need to see? Honestly, I think the case has been totally made. I think the case was made years ago, which is why I've been so adamantly on board with it. But come on, what more do you need? Tweeter Trash over on YouTube, a super chat, $2. I'm usually at work when you're on. Good to see you. Good to see you too. That is the first time I've ever noticed a super chat on YouTube. So I guess we are in a new era. Crushing it. Thank you. Okay. Where are we? All right. A few more clips left and then we'll get on out of here.
Reached a historic trade agreement with the United Kingdom, and over the weekend we reached a breakthrough agreement with China. Both outstanding deals. China's agreed. We have to get it down. We have to get the little details down. And Scott, you're going to work on that very hard, but China's agreed to open up to the United States for trade and everything else. But they have to do it, so we'll see what happens. But we had a very, very good meeting with both of those countries.
So there is another element, China. And as I said earlier, Trump, or mentioned earlier, Trump with the sanctions on Syria.
And friends of mine, people that I have a lot of respect for in the Middle East, I will be ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria in order to give them a chance at greatness.
That is quite an ovation. I mean, we've been hearing about Syrian refugees, the Syrian civil war. We know we have the puppet that they have in there now, Al-Jilani or Al-Shara, depending on how you call him, former ISIS or Al-Qaeda terrorist who's totally the real leader. And then Bashar al-Assad is obviously going to come back in the future. Easing those sanctions might be the last piece of allowing the true government of the people of Syria to kind of take their place on the world stage and in the world economy.
Oh, what a
that was quite an ovation. So that is obviously an issue that the people in that room care a great deal about. Mohammed bin Salman crossed his hands over his heart in praise and thanks. This is the closing of the Trump speech. It's incredible.
Together, we will succeed together, we will win together, and we will always be friends. Thank you. So, Mohammed, I want to thank you again very much for having me. And as a representative of what I think is the greatest nation in the world, we are with you all the way, and you have a tremendous future. Thank you very much. And please pay my respects to your father. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Best Trump rally ever.
Young man, there's no need to feel down. I said, young man, pick yourself off the ground. I said, young man, cause you're in a new town. There's no need to be unhappy. Young man, there's a place you can go. I said, young man, when you're short on your dough, you can stay there. And I'm sure you will find many ways to have a good time. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. It's fun to stay at the Y.
I mean, that is just fantastic. The picture, you could see the smile. Mohammed bin Salman looks like he genuinely loves and respects Donald Trump. And I think that the feeling there is mutual. What an incredible event. I mean, that's the sort of thing that if you understand the tenor of geopolitics and what's going on in the world today, like that's the sort of thing as an American to be quite proud of. This is a little bit aside from that. Over the weekend, this was at the Jubilee event for the Pope, I guess. So YMCA being played all over the place. Did Trump have a hand in the whole Pope thing? Maybe. Everybody started talking about how his brother was super based over the weekend. People getting very upset. And we'll leave off here wondering if there is perhaps another sword dance coming today. I haven't seen video of it yet, but this was from this evening. Or, you know, today for us, but this evening over there. I guess yesterday at this point. So maybe we'll get some video of a sword dance at some point. I don't know if it's happened or not. I guess we'll talk about that on Friday, potentially. Before we get out of here, let me also bring you a word from Truth Social, one of the social media sites where I still participate. You can find me on Truth Social at I'm Your Moderator. If you're looking for a great place online for news, discussion, and entertainment, then check out Truth Social, Donald Trump's social media website. You'll get breaking news stories and commentary from top media figures. If you want to see Trump's legendary Truth Social posts, then get on Truth Social today. Join a growing community of patriots on a free speech platform designed to avoid censorship and cancellation by big tech. Make your voice heard. Join the movement. Join Truth Social. And join me on over there. And checking the chats one last time before I get out of here to make sure that I didn't miss anyone's rants or super chats, as it were. Whoa! Magic Mike, $5 super chat over on YouTube. Let's make it number 2. Much love, Chris. Thank you very much, Magic Mike. And to those of you in the Substack chat, I hope you had a good time as well. And I will see you on Friday. Same reasonable time on the Same Reasonable Podcast Network. I don't have a network. Masks and lockdowns don't work. They lied to you about a pandemic, and Joe Biden was obviously never president.
Well?
Well, what?
You know who I am, don't you?
Well, you ain't Fiona Apple, and if you ain't Fiona Apple, I don't give a rat's ass.
What's wrong with being an angry prophet denouncing the hypocrisies of our times? What do you think, Max?
Do you want to be an angry prophet denouncing the hypocrisies of our times?
Yeah, I think I'd like to be an angry prophet denouncing the hypocrisies of our times.
It's not true. It's more true than I would perhaps prefer.
And I will not let you down.
We do a little trolling. It's called We Do a Little Trolling.
In my mind, that's the end game.
If you're listening for free and would like to support the show, the best way to do that is by signing up for a paid subscription at imyourmoderator.substack.com. You can find the info stream over on Telegram at t.me/veryreasonable. The merch site is cancelcouture.com, and for all my other links, you can visit linktree.com/imyourmoderator. And I'll see you soon. Down on the range.